It is the celebrity war that completely derailed Hollywood, shattered a blockbuster film's legacy, and divided the internet into two fiercely warring factions. For nearly 2 years, the toxic fallout from It Ends With Us wasn't just confined to anonymous leaks, awkward red carpet snubs, and tense promotional tours. It was a brutal, multi-million-dollar federal legal war playing out behind heavily closed doors. Blake Lively went all in. She launched a massive, scorched-earth legal campaign designed to completely dismantle Justin Baldoni's career, alleging defamation, retaliation, and severe workplace harassment. The stakes in this fight couldn't have been higher for either side. If Blake won, Baldoni's reputation was permanently erased. His production company would be bankrupt, and he would be functionally blacklisted from the entertainment industry forever. If Justin won, the golden couple of Hollywood, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, would face a catastrophic narrative collapse, exposing the immense pressure tactics used by top-tier A-listers. Well, a federal judge just handed down the final definitive ruling. The smoke has cleared, and despite the millions of dollars spent on high-priced PR firms and crisis managers, the judge just absolutely gutted Blake Lively's case. Justin Baldoni didn't just survive this onslaught, he just walked away with the ultimate victory, and Blake Lively is completely powerless to stop him. Today, we are stripping away the public relations spin, the studio-backed headlines, and the carefully crafted media statements. We are going deep inside the unsealed court documents to look at the exact numbers, the dismissed claims, and the devastating legal reality that Hollywood desperately didn't want you to see. How did a story meant to champion survivors of domestic abuse turn into one of the ugliest, most calculated legal battles in modern entertainment history? Let's break it down. To truly understand the magnitude of this final court ruling, we have to rewind to where the rot first started. Back in August 2024, It Ends With Us was tracking to be an absolute historic box office triumph. But as the press tour began, the internet noticed something deeply unsettling. Justin Baldoni, the director and male lead of the film, was completely isolated from the rest of the cast. He didn't introduce the film at major screenings, he didn't pose for photos with the cast, and he didn't do a single joint interview with Blake Lively. The internet's inner detective woke up instantly, and within days, major industry trade papers began leaking stories of a toxic set, massive creative power struggles, and competing cuts of the final movie. At first, the public assumed this was just a standard creative ego clash between a director and his lead actress. Blake Lively, backed by the immense industry leverage, wealth, and creative machinery of her husband Ryan Reynolds, had reportedly taken over the post-production editing room to deliver her own cut of the film. But behind closed doors, the conflict had already turned deeply legal. The public backlash against Blake during the press tour was swift and devastating. Her tone-deaf promotional strategy, where she promoted her new hair care line, plugged her cocktail brand, and cheerfully told viewers to grab their florals to watch a movie centered on brutal domestic violence, severely damaged her America's Sweetheart brand. Desperate to shift the narrative and protect her public image, the public relations machinery went into overdrive. Anonymous production sources suddenly began throwing incredibly heavy, career-ending accusations at Baldoni through the media. They claimed he made Lively feel deeply uncomfortable on set, allegedly questioned her post-pregnancy body, and created a hostile, toxic work environment for everyone involved. The goal was clear: paint Baldoni as the villain to justify taking the movie away from him. But Baldoni didn't run, and he didn't hide behind a weak PR-crafted apology statement. Instead, he quietly hired Brian Friedman, one of the most feared, aggressive, and ruthless entertainment litigators in Los Angeles. What followed was a quiet but devastating legal counteroffensive. When the lawsuits were finally filed and moved into the federal system, it became clear that Blake Lively wasn't just looking to clear her name or protect her edit. She was looking for total financial, professional, and personal destruction. When you take an emotional celebrity feud out of the court of public opinion and drag it into a federal courtroom, feelings, fame, and Instagram followers stop mattering. Only hard, cold evidence matters. And this is exactly where Blake Lively's massive legal campaign completely disintegrated under judicial scrutiny. Let's look at the actual numbers from the federal judge's final unsealed order. Blake Lively's high-priced legal team brought a massive, comprehensive complaint against Baldoni, his production team, and Wayfarer Studios, totaling 13 distinct legal claims. These weren't minor grievances. These claims ranged from severe breach of contract and systemic defamation to massive allegations of workplace sexual harassment and retaliation. Lively's team expected to use their immense resources to bully Baldoni into a corner. But when the federal judge actually reviewed the evidence presented by both sides, the judge straight up tossed 10 out of the 13 claims directly into the trash. Think about how catastrophic that is for a legal strategy. 10 out of 13 claims completely erased from the record before a trial could even begin. The court didn't just sideline these issues, the judge explicitly ruled that they lacked the basic legal merit and evidentiary backing to even be presented before a jury. Most damaging to Lively's camp was that the judge completely threw out the headline-grabbing allegations of sexual harassment and defamation against Baldoni. The very accusations that were strategically leaked to the press to ruin his name and force him out of the industry were legally wiped off the table as completely unsubstantiated. But the financial damage report gets even worse for the Lively camp. Blake's legal team had aggressively pursued what is known under California law as triple punitive damages. This is an incredibly rare, high-level financial penalty designed to severely punish a defendant for malicious, fraudulent, or oppressive behavior. Lively was demanding a massive, multi-million-dollar payout that would have completely crippled Baldoni's independent production company, Wayfarer Studios. The judge took one look at the request, analyzed the lack of supporting facts, and flatly denied it. No triple damages, no massive payday. The immense financial leverage Blake thought she held over an independent creator was completely neutralized in a single day. Why did this happen? How did one of the most powerful, well-connected women in modern Hollywood lose control of the narrative so completely in a court of law? It comes down to a fundamental psychological misunderstanding of power. In Hollywood, power is artificial. It is dictating who gets a movie greenlit, who gets to sit on the late-night talk show couches, which journalists get access, and who controls the narrative through friendly media outlets. For months, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and their massive inner circle controlled that artificial narrative perfectly. They were untouchable. But a federal courtroom operates in an entirely different ecosystem. In front of a federal judge, star power, red carpet clout, and box office numbers mean absolutely nothing. Ryan Reynolds' massive marketing machinery cannot save a legally weak argument that lacks physical evidence. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, released a stinging statement following the ruling that felt like an absolute victory lap, and frankly, he earned it. He stated bluntly, "There was no sexual harassment, there was no retaliation, there was no smear campaign. The court recognized the truth." Now, if you look closely at the mainstream media headlines sponsored by big studios and friendly publicists, they desperately tried to spin this final ruling. They focused heavily on a small technicality, the fact that Baldoni was ordered to cover a limited portion of Lively's legal fees stemming from a minor dismissed countersuit. But let's be entirely real about the math here. Paying a small fraction of administrative legal fees to completely clear your name of career-ending harassment, hostile workplace, and defamation allegations isn't a loss. It is an absolute, undeniable, historic triumph. Baldoni stood his ground entirely alone against the ultimate Hollywood power couple, risked his entire future, put his life savings on the line, and let the legal system prove what his supporters had been saying from day one. The accusations simply did not hold weight when subjected to cross-examination and judicial review. So, where do these two stars go from here? The most telling, revealing part of this entire federal update is what happened immediately after the judge handed down the ruling. Both Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively have officially signed a permanent, ironclad, non-appealable lifetime waiver. This means the war is legally, completely, and permanently over. Neither side can ever file another lawsuit regarding "it ends with us." Neither side can appeal this judge's decision to a higher court. The non-disclosure agreements are locked tight, the files are sealed, the vault is closed, and the keys have been thrown away forever. This lifetime waiver is exactly what Blake Lively's camp desperately needed at the final hour to protect whatever was left of her public image. Without this waiver, a prolonged, messy legal battle would have forced unsealed depositions, internal text messages, behind-the-scenes emails, and raw set footage out into the public eye for the entire world to analyze. it would have been an unmitigated disaster for the lively Reynolds brand. But for Baldoni, this waiver is a badge of absolute honor. He enters the next chapter of his directing and acting career completely cleared of the worst allegations Hollywood could possibly throw at a creator. He didn't break under the immense pressure, he didn't settle out of court in secret to make it go away, and he didn't let a massive, multi-million-dollar public relations machine dictate his truth to the world. The era of Hollywood elites completely erasing independent creators, directors, and actors through targeted press leaks and manufactured outcries might finally be hitting a wall. When faced with a transparent, evidence-based legal process, the public relations spin failed completely. The artificial narrative collapsed under its own weight, and Justin Baldoni stood tall against the giants. This case changes absolutely everything for how we look at celebrity culture, studio politics, and the ultimate power of the truth over corporate public relations spin. Justin Baldoni proved a massive point to the entire industry. If you have the receipts, if you have the truth on your side, and if you refuse to be intimidated, you don't have to bow down to anyone, no matter how powerful, wealthy, or well-connected their social circle is. But now, the final verdict doesn't belong to a federal judge, a high-priced lawyer, or a Hollywood studio executive. The final verdict belongs entirely to you. Looking at how this entire multi-year legal battle unfolded, seeing the timeline of events, and watching the federal judge completely throw out Blake's biggest, most damaging claims. What do you think about this outcome? Did true justice get served in the end? Or is this just the quiet end to a chapter that has permanently divided Hollywood behind the scenes? Drop your exact thoughts, your theories, and your breakdowns in the comments below. Let's talk about it down there. Don't forget to absolutely smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, and turn on all notifications for more deep, unfiltered dives into the stories Hollywood tries its absolute hardest to hide from the public. We'll see you in the next video.